Well, going in towards the start of the week, it's the Monday, you're feeling refreshed as your work is over, you're a bit free, and well, you're now here at ESA season number 10 with your lovely Puffa Bob and your even more lovely Delta Bacon. Take it away, Delta. How are you doing today? No, not behind you. I'm pointing at you, man.
Typically, people turn their monitors on when they're casting Puffo, but no, that's appreciated. That's very nice. Yeah. Well, we got a good match for you today, haven't we, Bob?
Yes.
Bobbo,
Bubba.
Bobbo
That's
Puff.
a new
That was
one.
nice. It's a cracking good start, isn't it? We've got a great bit of action coming up for you today. We've got MVG and QuQ in what is effectively the last chance to go through to the last chance qualifier in Swiss. If we take a look here at the bracket, you can see the little bit of a story journey that these two teams have taken with MVG, the reigning champions, no less, Bob. They've taken a bit of a dive and they've lost their last two matches on the trot to end up down there in that 1 and 2 bracket.
Oh, dragged into the deep waters. That's unusual of MVG, and well, now there's a chance for QuQ to take out the competition as early as they possibly can and maybe boost themselves up into the final possible chance of course, qualification. And, we need to see some predictions here, Delta, because the staff predicted. We need to see what the percentages are and how close they're going to be. And, well, you said reigning champions. I think that's still affecting the vote here.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, it's going to be a very even game. You know, the predictions maybe don't necessarily quite reflect it, but on balance, you've got to look at how a team has historically performed in the competition. Both of them on a bit of a really rough run of form, MVG in particular. But you don't get to be champions without having a little bit of something about you. And I think that's reflected in the predictions from the staff team. A couple of dissenting opinions, of course, as always, which keeps it nice and spicy. But I think broadly, both of us, everyone at the ESA, I think is fairly united on suggesting that MVG are going to be able to pull together a performance where in the last two games they've not been able to.
It's gonna be rough, but there always needs to be a field where blood needs to be spilled. And today we have three maps, a best of three as since the beginning, and starting off on Clubhouse, Chalet, and then Cafe. Now, Delta, these are probably one of the more picked maps in ESA and in Rainbow Six Siege in general, as of course, we're gonna be having a bit more run-of-the-mill maps, but in the meanwhile, I'm hoping the teams can make it interesting for us all.
Absolutely. These two teams, if you look slightly further afield, obviously their record is the same so far in ESA. But amongst all competitions recently, they're very evenly matched. It's only really ESA where they've had a bit of a drip in form. I'm really interested, Bob, though, in that choice to take us to Cafe from MVG. So naturally, with them having the ban and banning out Nighthaven, which they've been nilled on last game by MG minions, that makes sense, but it also means that we're going to Cafe. Now, in this competition so far, Puffo, the only win that MolotovGang have had on Cafe was against Saturnity, which was a 7-0, which came in a wider 14-0 game. I don't think that's really a representative result. Now, they may have taken that because for QuQ, Cafe has been a bit of a boogeyman map this season, but they have won again on Cafe against an opponent that was equal to the task, and they toughed it out. Whereas MVG this season, they're kind of untested on Cafe.
That makes it a bit more interesting now that we've pulled out the stats. And we didn't talk about Chalet and Clubhouse, which means that either we're going to be having extremely equal fights, as of course, again, Clubhouse, Chalet, you get to see them in your day-to-day life. You go to work, there's Chalet. You go back from work, it's Clubhouse, and you go to Cafe for the decider. And of course, up until that point, we're going to need to see Clubhouse first here, ladies and gentlemen, as we start heading in to the most common map of Rainbow Six Siege Esports, has been sticking with us for a very long time, and so it shall remain, even for today's MVG versus QuQ matchup.
Yeah, so far in the ESA this season, Clubhouse, MVG have lost it once. They didn't pick it themselves, they lost it. But, in contrast, despite it being one of the more popular maps, I don't believe QuQ have actually played Clubhouse this season, so similarly to how MVG haven't really been tested over on Cafe, if we do get to a decider, MG QuQ, they have not been tested on Clubhouse, so it's a bit of a clean slate for them as we head into these operator bans.
Roll the slot machine, pull the lever, and get the first attacker, as it will be none other than Hibana. Now, in Clubhouse, many would expect maybe a Maverick, maybe a shield operator, as you usually do in competitive. This time around, Hibana, I don't think that's too much of a worry here, seeing as how hatches can definitely be played, especially on the best site this map has to offer.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Hibana, it's maybe a pick that you wouldn't necessarily look at too much, but on Clubhouse, it's to be expected, and it kind of forces the QuQ into picking an operator that maybe not really wanting to pick. Maybe QuQ were hoping Takebi got banned and wanted to ban a shield. What we got here, Puffer, is we've got all the shield operators on attack available for use by these two teams.
Oh god, I'm already shivering in my timbers. I mean, we're gonna see Blackbeard, we're gonna see Blitz, we're gonna see Monty. The triple, the big three are now in the game. And well, let's ignore them for a second as we have two defenders to get rid of. The first pick from QuQ is gonna be none other than the Mira, which definitely has her moments, especially leaning in towards Church, but mostly that gym and bedroom side. Which, again, I see better defenders to ban here. Tubara, we have many different possibilities. The Cade, and, of course, the Azami for Rafters. So, honestly, there's going to be a lot of powerhouses here on both sides. And, I mean, I'm interested in how this is going to go.
Yeah, I mean, both those operators, they make sense individually, but it's weird to think how they would fit into a wider strategy. Clearly, MVG and QuQ, neither of them are really going to prioritize holding, and keeping those walls closed for too long, unless we see some particularly spicy bandit tricking, or Cade tricking, or Tubarao tricking. But we're not going to see the Tubarao here in this round. MVG opting for a very powerful, very frag-heavy lineup. We've got the Goyo and the Malusi for slowing the enemy down, and I think if there's one thing MVG have proven time and time again that they are good at in the face of adversity, it's tapping on heads, Puffer.
And well, I think that's where Hatchie comes in with that dog pick. The comfortability pick, the MP5 really can't go wrong with it, and the dog stims. I mean, if anyone leaves a battle injured, there's also going to be those stims coming in nicely to boost you up. But QuQ, we talked about those shields, Delta, and well, I think we're both seeing the same operator.
Yeah, it's Lion, right? It's the Lion.
No, it's Ash. I'm talking about Ash.
It's the Blitz. Of course, it's the Blitz. It always is. Blitz shield operators very, very prevalent in this meta in terms of they get banned all the time in ESA. You know, people do not want to play against your Blitzers, against your Monties. But I think in particular Blitz, we've seen a lot of Blitz rushes so far in the season. Are QuQ gonna pull off a first round execute in the first minute of the game? That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Oh, the nades there, and of course Larry, the first one to spill blood, as QuQ are already having themselves a positive beginning. Now some damage dropped onto the Blitz definitely is going to be good as Isan delivers another blow, a second one, exchange in the meanwhile. But MVG, they definitely have stalled it out for a bit. QuQ are feeling a bit uncomfortable, but they're definitely not letting go of it yet. The second adrenaline surge does come through, locked it in. You do see the head and a one tap for Jake. Oh, Variox had nothing to say for it, just with another Larry to be taken out of the count. And 2 against 2, the equalization of players have been constantly running around, running through the fear factor, but simply no fear to be had. Just peeks you back. Swing or be swung. The Goyo stands still. It's a game of patience. Left it down for granted. Jake on low HP, and Wilane, he just simply has to deliver the one bullet. The same stands for the final Brava, as now it's a fair game for both. A single shot here, Delta, and it's all going to be over. The diffuser picked up, play it safely. One impact could finish it all. You just don't connect it, and information is key. You hold this cross here, it's going to be fantastic. Whatever drone is doing its job will definitely be doing it. So, oh, previously. Now 130. Come on, Aina. He just goes for a rotation, which could be allowing him to get out of the sight for that drone. But as of current, I mean, Jake, he lost that information. Aina here could be shooting, does give him a bit of a warning shot. And in the meanwhile, that's location. They're going for a game of Roop around the Rosie. What are we watching here? It's an episode of Scooby-Doo, and they're just ready. They're steady, and a swing from Aina as he claims round number 1.
What a round. What an opening round. I mean, the rush, it was there, right? I think we kind of both saw it at the start, the blitz. But not only did we see it, MVG kind of saw it. They held a very nice cross onto blue, and whilst they did concede a couple of your frags at the start, they held a really nice cross, especially through that breach, out from kind of that church shrine area where the bike is, if you're not aware of it. That cross completely stymied the entire push because the blitz went down, and that's kind of the corner point, the anchor stone of the entire strategy. As soon as they went down, it became just a game of fragging, tapping on heads. MVG had the information. You saw the red pings at the end of the round, pinging QuQ, pinging the Brava, and from there, MVG with the intel, they were more likely than not to win that out. But first round of a game that we say is going to be incredibly close, Puffo, and it was a 1v1 at the end, decided by one solitary bullet. That's what we'd like to see.
A brilliant back and forth as we saw the push come forward. In the same manner it was stopped. QuQ and MVG went ban for ban, and in the end, of course, like you said, it 1v1 situation is where we were left off. Maybe a similar position we're going to be left on in round number 2, but as of current, let's see what Jim and Petrum are going to be rocking us out with, as we see some similarities when it comes down to the operators, mostly talking about Ane's Fenrir and the dog from Hatchy, as he's going to be playing that character very religiously. But now on to the bandit, assuming it's going to be for the trick, although interested as Wino Tubera Arcade are going to be interpreted into that strategy alongside a Frost. And oh, just he falls to random wall bangs from the window. Maybe a bit more planned than we would imagine.
Yeah, he'll be very lucky. He'll be able to get out and get stimmed up, either picked up or fully stimmed there by Multihasi. Very good use of the dock there. Unfortunate, I don't even think QuQ were actually aware that they had the down on Just. And as we see there, he's back up to full health. It's like it never happened. Opportunity missed, I would say, for Team QuQ.
Not much of a push here from the attackers. They're stalling it out just for a second, tad bit too much, trying to get a second chance, and Isan! They're being peaked a bit too long. Patience is going to be the key for QuQ to open us up here, and that's one kill only. The bandit trick comes out. That's going to be the exothermic. No big hole coming up right now for you, Thermite. Gonna have to leave you on hold just for a second. A down onto Larry, and this is what we're talking about. These exchanges between the teams, it really shows the rivalry.
Yeah, both of them going absolutely hammer and tongs. Larry not able to get dock stimmed being an attacker, and having had, the adrenaline shots taken away this round by the operator picks, moving instead over onto the book. They're going to stay at low health for the remainder of the round. Half the time gone. We've only got one frag on the board. That was Isan on an overpeak, but they've done very, very well at holding this QuQ team back. They're only now starting to move through into this construction, through into this cache area, and now MVG, they've killed 2/3 of the round time. They've only got a minute to hold, but this is going to be some fierce pressure they're coming up against, Bob.
Yes, indeed, we're starting to feel the heat and all around it. I mean, MVG, now they're starting to feel that pressure apply down as the breachers are coming out a bit too late, but I don't think so as Jay keeps it going. The pickup on the Larry might have allowed a bit more entry. Variox does finish off the Ash, and it's a refrag, a trade you call it, but a 3v4 and you're still in the minus. QuQ looking to rain upon it and just bring numbers down upon you, stockpile them over, but aggression seems to be worthy as you bring one low, but one of your teammates falls in the process, just returns, and MVG, they're always trailing behind QuQ's score. It's not a good process of going about it, because in the end, a refrag game is all that QuQ need to bring you down to the earth, nicely seep you deep into the dirt. 25 seconds is all we have. Can we hold them out? And down you look in an unfortunate situation, but Ane claims you a second peek and a second chance. That's where he allows it to come through. The Fenrir toxins, Supper finishes, Ane now dead, and all of a sudden, just the last one, as he does get a 1v1 initiation, gonna be allowing MVG here to get a possible outcome, favoring them. The plant is just going down. He's gonna allow it. It's post-plant situation. The pistol from Justin. It's not expected from that angle, as Larry will be the last to go.
Yeah, from there, it looked like Team QuQ, they had the advantage early on. They picked up the early frags. They went to 5v4. They went to 5v3. But from there, the execute, it kind of fell short, and the remaining 3 players, particularly Just, who I will mention, by the way, went down at the start of the round, Puffo, but was allowed to be rezzed because QuQ didn't know they'd downed him. He lives to clutch out the entire round with a lovely triple kill. Absolutely fantastic play from him there. But I think when QuQ attacked, they were a little bit slow in clearing out that extended run from Cash and CCTV. I don't think they committed enough numbers to pushing them out in a timely fashion. When it came to the execute, they only had 1 minute left on the board, and they started to drop players in a manner where it was very obvious where they were going to be coming from. MolotovGang, they could position themselves and establish these crossfires and really cover the site in a whole scale way. Team QuQ weren't able to overcome that. 2-0 then for MVG, but both rounds so far, Puffle, going absolutely down to the wire. You can't say Team Cook aren't being competitive here. It's extremely tight.
Just a miss on that little push they need, the very edge over the tippy top for them to claim over MVG and get around in for themselves. Yes, they're on the attacking sides, and sometimes that feels to be a bit of a blunder, as making entry into the building alone can be quite hasslesome. But MVG, they were at a minus for the majority of the match. That entire round, they were really having trouble to even keep up with Cook. But just in those final moments, the 1v1 situation is what led them to victory. And this time around, MVG have started feeling the passion, maybe even cheekiness, as now they're going for a Clash combined spawn peak, which, speaking of Delta, we have a Clash.
Yeah, we do have the Clash. It's not only attacker shields that weren't banned out at the start, it was also the defenders Clash on the board, and we've seen MVG, particularly in Season 9, in matches where they were in the knockout phase, you know, different flavour of Siege, really, where they use Clash to immense effect. Notably as well, we've got the Maverick to try and enable these breaches, and through the Maverick hole, we'll see ESA fall. Second round in a row, he is the first frag.
Multitasking at its finest. Of course, you get the breach, you get the kill. There's nothing of a downside. And again, Cook are going to be showing off that type of positivity they bring. And I'm talking about it. I mean, earlier, it was a similar delivery. But MVG, as long as they get those final moments to be a fantastic push in for them, that flow state you may call it, Cook are going to be having trouble. Variox brings one down in an instant exchange. These are toe-for-toe players, and they're not going to be stopping this time around. Cook, though, they realize the position they hold. They take it a tad bit more into advantage. Clash taking long-range gunfights just comes out to help, and just trying to push these two players in garage instead of going for the plant. Cook, you have the sight, thankfully comes about, and a single magazine for Jake to wipe them all off, clean off the map.
Huge. Do you know there, Bob, I looked away to tap out some notes about Hassie falling in rafters as a byproduct of not taking on his army. I glanced back at the screen, Bob. The round was over. You're going to have to walk me through that one again.
I mean, it was honestly quite interesting, but everyone on site disappeared. Everyone on site disappeared. Cook wiped them off. The second the breach was open, not a single defender was left remaining. And in the end, the final two were battling it out in lounge, trying to contest a single player, which of course, it didn't end up going their way.
Yeah, after 2 rounds of not dominance, but scrapping out these 2 little round victories in round 3 MVG, they line up like lemmings to the slaughter for Team Cook, but jumping off the cliff, figuratively, actually just jumping into the crosshairs for Team Cook. So, 2-1. And that was maybe a bit more of a dominant victory in a sight than we saw from MVG. So maybe a sign of things to come there, Puffo. We're going back now. We're going back to the basement, so we are. And it's a very different attacking lineup so far that we're seeing. I wonder if we'll see any more changes, but they've ditched the Blitz. They've ditched the Finker, and they're going for a very different attack that seems to be very gadget-heavy in terms of throwables. All we've seen to counter that on MVG's side is a single Wamai.
To spice it up, it doesn't seem like they're really going to be pushing in for that vertical gameplay either. Simply going for hatches, and then I imagine clearing utility, whatever may be remaining on site, then dumping everything, what's ever left of them, and simply entering as if it were free real estate. MVG might have to be on the lookout a bit more this time around. Hopefully the Goyo is going to be sticking a bit more together, although as Cook, they have set back MVG for one round. They're looking to do it for the second, and this time around MVG, I don't think they know what's coming to them.
Yeah, a bit of a slow start to the round. We've seen ESA playing maybe a little bit more conservatively, but as a byproduct of that, Cook, they've established first floor control already. There's not really any Romans to contest them as they open up the hatch onto bar. That's maybe the ideal time when you would want to be contesting them, because their focus is going to be divided both on the hatch and on the players below. But you can see there, all 5 MVG players playing on that basement. Cook, they don't have to fight for this territory control. They don't have to roam clear from top or from the second floor. They can just go directly to those hatches and start focusing in on the site. Bit of a misplay by MVG not to have anyone off site.
Yeah, I mean, we have definitely seen those strategies where teams like to really stumble into their own site, play that shell strategy, and nicely just cozy themselves up in the building. But That allows the attackers to have easy entry, and of course with drones, they don't need to put themselves at risk for clearing out gadgets such as these. Although a lot of Roteros have been used, the last one now gonna be on the wheels, ready to just have a drive-by for a possible Luma Lucy, Fenrir, or two. Maybe Goya on the way, but I believe Twitch has already taken care of those. The final minute here, we're gonna be counting down, and imagine QuQ are starting to get prepared.
Yeah, pretty notably here, there's no real, there's no C4, there's no ability for MVG to challenge these players above, so they are very much turtling. I do wonder, Puffer, if they maybe thought that Team QuQ were going to rush again. The operator lineup seems like it's designed to slow them down, funnel them in, but by turtling in on site, they've really stopped themselves from pushing. Here as a little push comes through from Tunnel. Jake looking for a kill, opens from Hatch. They don't necessarily know that he's there, but he will get picked by just 5v4.
Oh, two players already cut hook, line, and sinker, as Larry always there trying to really cut off all that rotation, but QuQ have crumbled like a cookie in a matter of seconds, and Larry fighting a losing battle, as from the behind, a stab in the back, just make sure to deliver it with a Vector P shooter, you call it, I call it absolute cinema, as now QuQ were shut down in seconds. They made it too obvious what they were doing, and it just did not go their way.
Yeah, it was massively signposted, and rather than popping the door through to Tunnel from Hatch, which, if you're popping the door, obviously someone's going to come through it, right? If you're going to pop the door, I would suggest maybe make some noise elsewhere, throw some bullets out elsewhere, put these defenders under pressure to the extent where their eyes are focused elsewhere. They had a really good setup there, QuQ. They could take that top floor completely. MVG did not challenge them, but what they did, effectively there, Buffo, is they dragged them down to their level and beat them with experience down in the basement. MVG 3-1 in what was a dominant round. They weren't really pressured by QuQ overly in that round, and I would argue that strategically, I was wrong. Not roaming maybe was the play there. We'll be going back here to Gym Bedroom. This is where MVG won in the post plant. This is where Just was felled, picked up by Doc, and then dropped a 3k clutch. What will we be seeing from him again this time, Puffler?
Honestly, you never know. You never know with these players. They can pull it off from 0 to 100 and catch us by an element of surprise. Same goes for the attackers here. As QuQ have done it once, maybe they'll do it again. Or is it the only side they manage to actually escape through with a round being CC and Cash? Well, that's a question to be answered now, as round 5 is underway. Only one more to remain after, and this time around, QuQ needs to start triumphing a bit more if they don't want to go into a 5-to-1 split. MVG, I mean, they definitely want to reap off of those benefits, I can imagine, at least. QuQ, on the other hand, they're going to be shaken in their boots. And, well, this time around, we also see the Maverick here, Delta.
Yeah, last time Maverick used good effect to try and open up breaches. That was on CC Cash. This time, over on Gym Bedroom, I wonder if he'll be as effective, just getting dropped down to low health. Not down this time, but he'll get picked back up by Hassi. Aina, dropped down to low health, picked back up by Hassi. And these early exchanges where QuQ should be ahead, they're being nullified by the presence of Hassi, ever present on that dock. But they will be able to get this external breach open, potentially, as we see the gadgets start flying.
How is it always someone managing to get randomly either floor bang or, oh my goodness, the tongue twister is unreal, floor bangs.
No, commit to it, floor blangs, commit to it. It works.
Or Blindglow blangs. It always happens to the players of MVG. Thankfully, Hatchie's on the job, the medic, the big man himself to heal you and patch you in a crisis mode. As of now, it seems like nothing's happened yet, but this breach is definitely going to be playing a huge role.
Yeah, the breach not really contested. Despite the presence of a bandit, it's very hard to bandit trick that objective because of the presence of Gym Bedroom having that window. Jake picking up the first kill. This time as a Reese-Han. Third time this half that he's fallen first in 5 rounds. And that'll set the scene as Jake starts pushing in. He'll take down the dog. Hassi goes down. 3v5 now. MVG collapsing in, but it's not enough. As Larry, he'll pick off Just, and they'll turn around to pick up his thermite. Get his teammates up in a 5v2 scenario, Puffer. One more as Jake picks up the triple. The flick will come through from Rags. He'll get a double. He'll get the collat over as it's a 3v1 scenario, but it's not enough. And Schnitzy, he'll take Variox in what was arguably a very shaky execute, but they had the benefit of numbers.
I don't think QuQ really have a care for their lives. They simply open the breach, they see a big hole, and they're like, you know what, might as well enter. It's there for a reason. They stepped through it. Not a single player from MVG was watching it, and while Jake got away with much things that probably shouldn't have gotten away with Doc holding him, and even while he's under the influence of Fenrir's gadgets, just walks into it full pace, and Larry from the outside, not only killing people, but also supporting his teammate while he's bleeding out on the floor. QuQ have truly done it. Like you said, it's shaky's the best way to describe it, but in the end, the attackers, they shouldn't have gotten away with it, and well, QuQ, that's your second.
Yeah, it was only the early kills that, MVG really conceded. Arguably relatively soft kills that they conceded, which meant that QuQ could commit to that execute in such emphatic fashion. And whilst one of the angles onto that final play of Ariox got felled completely, there was 3 other angles onto him, and in that scenario, it doesn't matter who you are, you're not out flicking 3 different people from 3 different angles. 3-2 then to MVG. They've managed to equal the defensive half, but it's time to take a positive. We're going now to a bit of a split site situation, bit of a strange pick, isn't it? Where we're going to the stage and we're going to the bar. Not one that you really see that often. What will be the strat here, do you think?
What will be the strat? That's a good question. We haven't seen the site in probably millennias. And I don't think a lot of Siege teams touch it purely because there's probably potential in this site. Again, it's one of the more goofier sites, some may say, but it definitely has its ups and downs like each and every single one. So hopefully MVG have managed to confuse QuQ enough so they can't be too prepared for it. But it is going to be the final destination of the first half here, round 6, and MVG, you either have a 3-3, which is balanced as all things should be, or you catch up on that lead. Well, it's all down to QuQ and how well they manage to go about it.
Yeah, you'll see there a bit of an early breach on. Given that it's bar, you would expect maybe some very wide roaming, because you can kind of get encircled from 2 different angles, so you need a very wide roam presence to contest this. Lovely wide angles, but they'll be getting used against this MVG side, as for the 4th time this half, ESA is the first to fall, once again over-peaking and on the Echo Puffo, an operator where a lot of the utility, a lot of the power, it gets exponentially larger the deeper into the round you go.
What a downgrade. Now working on the back end to be on main cameras instead of your own yokais must be a heartache here for MVG, as again, the losing player, the first for defense, not looking good, and QuQ have definitely been having a better run with their consistency off of the opening fragmentation. So this time around, what's going to be changing besides the site itself that definitely has caught many of us off guard? As all 5 players QuQ, they're looking to go off of it. The kitchen player definitely could be bringing out some sort of cutoff on that rotation, but they simply try to stick to stage alone or just push the back end of the site. I think it's going to be easy entry for now. They have verticals and contested, but just is contesting kitchen, which is a great extension to see. Jake takes damage, a bit of blood spilled, but a headshot matters most as Supper's head served on a silver platter, a second returned, and MVG now, they're back on the lead as Jake falls to multi-hat. He brings him down, and only 2 for the count. Not the best, but we always can rely on Hydex to try and equalize it out. And well, Hydex, that was the last time they can rely on you, as in a 1v3 situation, you need to find that triumph, you need to find that victory, not diffuser in a hand, completely outnumbered, all angles covered, and you fall like the rest of them. As now, MVG 4-2 split, not looking bad.
Yeah, they'll be very happy with that performance so far. Not the most dominant one in the world, but 4 rounds is 4 rounds, however way you split it. And ironically, at the split, there we go, that's what it is, 4 plays 2. ESA maybe getting a bit unlucky, but they've been very, very swingy. And they've not picked up that much. They've died in every single round, even the 1 rounds that MVG won. And they've only got 2 kills to speak for it, but they keep swinging. They keep swinging everything. 4 of these rounds they've not really taken part in. So maybe a little bit too much adrenaline coming into this match. Obviously, this is a very important match for both of these teams. Puffo, being as it is the winner, gets to go to the last chance Swiss qualifiers, where you either get promoted or you lose. The loser of this one, they get dunked out of the competition. So a lot on the line for these 2 teams, and I'm wondering if ESA's maybe feeling the pressure a little bit. But it's not being reflected by the rest of his team, as they'll switch their attacking half with QuQ starting us off down in the basement.
Legasov down in the basement, and QuQ showing to be the same coin as MVG, just a different side, rocking a bit more of that lurky strategy, pulling out the Vigil and Scopus alike. Of course, with Valkyrie also, as I imagine C4s from below are going to be quite deadly, and I guess I can't use it in that way as it's only one C4, no S at the end, and currently, I mean, we have a mix. It's a 50-50. I mean, mostly it does depend off of intel gathering and, of course, roaming, but the other two operators, the Fenrir and Legion, are going to be major when the execute comes out. Now, of course, round 7 around, we are going to be expecting a lot of changes because it's quite dire once things tend to turn around, flipping the pan for both of these roles. Now you're on the attack, MVG. Your big streak has now reset. You don't feel that surge anymore. The tempo is now on equal grounds as QuQ's. Same could be said for them. They were losing. Now maybe it's their time to shine bright like a diamond. Maybe get 4 rounds to bring it into overtime, or maybe even win it without regulation. Now, those are going to be some tough decisions to do. Of course, tough decisions and tough choices, and a lot of responsibility. That's Hoop the superhero saying, but no, this is Rainbow Six Siege, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be seeing how QuQ now needs to expand off of this verticality, already delaying a bunch of time here with the Vigil. Larry on the top can't be spotted out. The Jackal here does seem like a fantastic way of clearing him out, but if this Jackal goes down, you have no easy clearage beside the possible IQ. On main stairs, backs off. The Jackal footprint will be leaving you behind just for a second, but you still have one more to walk out for. Schnitzy Boo, he gets the opening. And that's Isan, as now he falls to the hands of none other than the Valkyrie lurking upstairs.
Yeah, it's a big kill. I mean, once again, Isan falling first, but this time on attack, it's a little more acceptable for Valkyrie on the roam. It's a very expansive game, and it feels like MVG, they're a little bit off balance, being played very differently this side to how MVG played it. They're being kept out of that first floor very readily until now, until the second half of the round, as QuQ, they look to delay. The time is going to be the 6th defender for QuQ at the end of this scenario. As we see the droning, there's still a minute left on the clock. They can drone, they can find out where these defenders are, but there's 5 of them, and they're going to have to start whittling down those numbers very, very soon, because on this site in particular, it is hard to execute at pace if you need to rotate rounds. Hassi will take the first kill out for MVG on their attack as they take out Hydex. Valk falling, Schnitzipu all the way down, and here come the frags as Aina from the same angle will take out Suppler.
QuQ earlier in a similar position, they were definitely at a disadvantage, but they could turn it around, right? Maybe now that they're on the defense, the storyline will be written different. They're picking up the pen, but can they write the narrative? Are they creative enough? Lurking around, having a switch of positions. The scope was the Vigil earlier up top, now at the very bottom. At the bottom, I mean 6 foot under, as Justin Variogs bring them both down. And QuQ fall for a 5th time, now only run round away from match point, which will be soon a coup de grace. They don't put a stop to whatever MVG are cooking, and that was a pun intended.
Yeah, it's a very big round from MVG, and it looks like here, starting to get that little bit of momentum, which can be very, very dangerous in this kind of scenario. A 4-2 split on your own defensive half is very powerful. Winning the next round on the next half, turning it to 5-4, that's when it starts to become, okay, if you're Team QuQ, is this starting to get to the point where it's insurmountable? The delaying tactic worked for the most part, it worked from the start, but then as the battle moved towards the basement, as they started moving towards these kill holes which they had made for themselves, all that did was funnel the MVG attackers fire. They knew where these QuQ defenders were going to be hiding, where they're going to be languishing, and MVG, they could just pick their shots and fire. QuQ not really having an answer. If they had turtled in and maybe not been quite so weak to peak, maybe MVG wouldn't have had quite as easy a time reaching down into sight. Well, there we go. They're going to give it another go, QuQ, in the first time that in this map that we've seen a site repeated. So QuQ, they're of the attitude that they didn't lose, that MVG didn't win the round, merely QuQ lost it.
Early QuQ lost it. We can already spot out some adjustments. The eyes on the prize here are going to be sticking to the Vigil and Legion both. The Cade being interpreted just to delay that breach. And of course, the Goyo. The Goyo is one of the most fantastic additions you can add to your roster. I don't think there is a single lineup that can go wrong with a Goyo as a flex. Tubera there to support it, as we saw MVG absolutely rain hellfire down upon QuQ with shots after shots back to back from hatches alone, and let alone then pushing down, breaching out, and absolutely demolishing every single player the defenders had to throw at them. MVG have been uncontested, mechanically lifted you may call them, but timing is precise, and they have found every single loophole, an opening into this bottom floor, and a hit shot that can just simply not miss as he takes out the opening Schnitzipoo. Oh, what an unfortunate tell-to-tale.
Yeah, not ideal to be losing a very strong defender in terms of Legion. Again, similar to Echo, when ESA got dropped on a defender that gets more utility and more powerful the longer into a round it goes. QuQ, they've not been able to delay this MVG side quite as long as they did last round. MVG, not only have they got the aim, they've now also got significantly more time with which to use it. And QuQ, they've been relegated to playing from the bottom here. The tuber out, they'll stop this hatch from getting opened partially, but you can still see there the Maverick having to dodge a little bit of fire on the way up through. ESA takes a little bit of damage, and we see now that MVG, they're starting to really challenge these QuQ defenders and contract around the site in a way that's going to make these defenders very uneasy for this final minute, Bob.
Oh, and well, Larry brings luxury to crime, and QuQ now have one more to fight off for as they bring it down to equal grounds. Similar terminology, but MVG are still going to be holding them upright, as now, talking about a verticality, when push comes to shove, you definitely need to make your headway right out the site itself. Heading into this bottleneck, as intensity and pressure will be at an all-time high. Drops from hatch, we can expect them. Kills, we can expect them more. Justin for Ryox, hand-in-hand, claim for 2. And QuQ, we've seen the situation many more times than we can count. At least more than my fingers can. And damage is being dropped. QuQ R2, and all of your players are starting to burn down to the ground. Final ping's coming out. You're holding these positions very carefully. And Hydex, he takes you out long range style with a slug. You may even call it the TCSG by some the name goes. But strikes fear into his enemies. As although HP may be running low, I can imagine the faith, the hopes aren't. But Isan brings him down. He's going to be absolutely making sure your mental is in the ground. And for Ryox, with the final shot to really have the major say about it. And QuQ now in a desperate situation facing match point.
Yeah, another very powerful round from MVG. Very, very powerful indeed. And this is the kind of momentum I was referring to there, where Team QuQ, they've got this expanded roam. They're trying to hold these MVG defenders, attackers, but they're just clicking on the heads significantly better. And it feels like this is an MVG team that, they're coming off the back of two maps of very, very difficult, losses to take, where even in some cases they've been nilled on a couple of maps, and it's an MVG team that's certainly come into this map with a little bit of something to prove. Take nothing away from QuQ, they've been very competitive, but MVG, I think they're just starting to hit that stride. They've allowed themselves to calm down a little. They're not succumbing to maybe those adrenaline rushes or anything like that. That's been very, very difficult to counter as the map started, but here now, as we hit match point, Team QuQ, they don't seem to have an answer to this MVG aggression, Bob. Round 9, 5v5. We're going to start it off level playing field, and the attitude in the QuQ camp is going to be it's still 0-0. Don't lose your heads. You're still very much in it, and stranger things have indeed happened. But this is an MVG side where their intel gathering, their droning game's been very, very strong. Here comes a little bit of a spawn peek coming from Hydro. It comes to nothing, and now they know that the Frost is there. They're going to be a little bit cautious as they start to aggress onto the building.
Only descend down to their enemy's hometown, into the lion's den, which has been having some unfed lions. QuQ, let them cook for once. It's Clubhouse, everyone should know it, but in the very end, MVG get the ball rolling, and they simply cannot be caught against. QuQ have been having a struggle. Maybe it's the final on this map. We're gonna have to say this every now, following up until the 6-6 score, which is 4 in a row to be exact for QuQ to pivot. Those are some very difficult achievements to pull off. It's not impossible, it's improbable. Chances are there, just very slim. And well, MVG are going to be making them even slimmer breach is coming out early, and it's going to be allowing quick transportation, but in the meanwhile, what matters is that everything is going down. We see the fire burning, but the Passion 2 as just simply cannot step out on these frags, making extra angles as attackers tend to, and getting extra shots when completely cornered. It's a down onto Variox, but he's just on the balcony, enough for Hatchet to come in and rescue him in a moment. In an absolute rescue, the Claymore claims another. It's not just the guns making their job worth it, but it's also gonna be Hyde going out for a run out that could have risked the teammate being in a 1v3 situation, as it matters all not. For a not, it was QuQ fall in map number 1, 7-2 tradition. Only 2 rounds to get in the attack of all sites. And an unfortunate turn of events, as map 1, the one we could have expected going into overtime, tends to be possibly the quickest today.
Yeah, I think, listen, it's the match score of 7-2. I don't think it reflects just how good a game this was, especially in that first half, especially at the start of that defender half, where it came down to a 1v1 so often. I think Team QuQ, they can be very happy with how they've played out this round, but they'll be very dissatisfied with the result. And that, I think that's pretty much a given, isn't it? They lost 7-2. Now, I think the benefit really for QuQ is that that wasn't their map pick. That was MVG's map pick, and they can be. You can say that maybe they're expecting to take their own pick, so to bring it back to a 1v1. But a lot of it, I think, is going to be the mentality game as you come off the back of something like that, where 7-2 loss is a 7-2 loss is a 7-2 loss. It doesn't matter if they are all 1v1s. You're still going to feel it in a certain sort of way. So I think that's going to be very difficult for them to overcome, Bob. As MVG, they started to romp a little bit, and I think there was a definite change in gear after they started attacking, wasn't there?
Absolutely. And looking towards this next map will be Chalet. Chalet is their pick, maybe a fate changer for them, and hopefully a different score this time around. As before we get to it, ladies and gentlemen, take yourself a bit of a break. We're going to get ourselves get something to drink, something to eat, and we'll be right back with you. Bit uncomfortable, but they're definitely not letting go of it yet. The second adrenaline surge does come through. Locked it in. You do see the head and a wall. A short break is what we called, and a short break is what we deliver, as after the break, guess what? It's back to ESA action, ladies and gentlemen. We're back with round number 2, which is going to be none other than Chalet, if you forgot. And it's still your lovely Puffo Bob, and even more lovely Delta Bacon, who's hopefully not going to turn around this time. And Delta, how are we looking?
Yeah, it's listen, we've got a very tight matchup, as we've said a couple of times on this stream. If you've just joined us, one of the last comments that I had actually was that although the last map ended 7-2, that was over on Clubhouse, it wasn't really indicative of the actual game. Both teams went at it hammer and tongs. A lot of the rounds were decided in 1v1 scenarios, and it was just a case of MVG clicking on heads a little harder than this Team QuQ side could. Over now to Chalet, as you said, Bob. On this, both teams they've had wins. Both teams have won here, but crucially, their record so far is MVG have won 2 from 2, and QuQ they've only won 1 from 2.
A quick
they've
beginning.
Also had a loss. Being QuQ's pick, is it maybe a little risky?
Maybe it is. Maybe not. I feel like Chalet tends to be very similar to Clubhouse as how well it is known, but gameplay-wise, it can go the complete south opposite of how well it is played. So hopefully this ends up being QuQ's saving grace, and of course the usual Siege curse ends up kicking in that each team wins the other's maps. So this time around, MVG will be starting off with a ban that's occurred a lot in the previous map and would occur even more if not banned, the Brava.
Yeah, absolutely. But interestingly enough, Bravo was brought, I think, pretty equally by both teams. So MVG for that there is very much a target ban, I would suggest. Takebi, we saw that last round from QuQ, so I think it's the case where QuQ just really do not like playing against Takebi. Unfortunately, against a team like MVG, the intel gain is not as much as maybe it would be. Their droning is incredibly strong, and I think Takebi, whilst very strong as an intel operator and very good on the execute, the way that MVG likes to execute, it's not necessarily all at once. Here's where they all are. There's the call. Right now, go kill. Melusi getting banned out. We saw a lot of Melusi's last game. Notably, we still have all 3 attacking shields, including the Blitz. So Melusi, as an operator which can slow these Blitz pushes down, isn't that surprising a ban. Especially coming out from QuQ, given that they were the ones that wanted to do the rushing last time. And MVG going back to ban all reliable as Zami. No naughty one-way angles for either team so far today.
Yeah, I mean, in the previous map, if my memory doesn't serve one of a goldfish, we didn't tend to see a lot of shields, which could have been a direct reason from a lot of characters being picked solely to counter them. The Legion, maybe the Goyo, the Frost every now and then, and so on and so on. Now this time around with the Melusi being picked off, as you mentioned, maybe we get to see a bit more shields. Not as of current, 6-pick is still available, and even a Clash could be one of the so-given picks. But about these bans, I mean, people have really started leaning off of shields as much, especially between these two teams, which is interesting because, I mean, maybe we're going to see more of them. A Blackbeard definitely would be a powerhouse and a power move both at the same time. But as of current, I would less worry about shields, QuQ, and more about securing this match.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. I think maybe that first round where QuQ tried to rush, maybe that one set the pace. Maybe that set the scene, you know. Where afterwards, on their attacking rounds, they just didn't feel like rushing. And from there, you know, when they switched off the shields, they still had some very close rounds. So I think, whilst the shield matter, I don't think you can really argue that it's still very much in effect. Maybe for these two teams, they're just not willing to have that be the core of their strategy at the moment, as we see QuQ on attack first this time round as well. They're not willing to commit to it. Interesting that there's a little bit of interplay there between the two operators, as we see Castle actually replacing the barrier, which Variox themselves were battering down, and then that's replaced by the Castle. So I wonder how hard MVG have actually scrimmed this map.
Well, MVG, the previously season's proclaimed winners, now being the contenders rather than the champions, will be starting off on defense. And QuQ, they have an operator that might be able to sneak her way into the building without being noticed. And Super, at FMG, I'm looking forward to it being put to work, but more the R4C, because as of current, that's going to be first blood spilled, and by none other than Jake, who did it in Clubhouse too.
I'm not sure what they're doing there. MVG, they just, you know, they're not contesting Library at all, which is, you know, a very famously strong entry point. But interestingly, they're allowing this territory to get taken, and they're falling very rapidly as a result of it. They've got a very wide roam here, but they're not cutting off these access points as Jake picks off one after another after another. Jake picking up 2, Larry picking up 1, and we're already down in a 1v5. MVG, they've got the strats, but they've not got the aim. Hassie, they'll stim, it's not enough. QuQ, they set the tone for this second map with a flawless round.
What a fantastic way to kick us off into Chalet for QuQ, as then other than a flawless. I mean, MVG, in the previous one, if we take a look back into the past, at the very beginning, map number 1 on Clubhouse, both of the first 2, maybe even 3 maps ended up being 1v1s. Here, it was not even close, the polar opposite, as Jake went off the rails, chucked down many, and even many more to follow, because his teammates were all working together to bring down MVG as fast as possible, because QuQ on the attack here are cooking.
Defenders, protect your bombs.
You know, I don't think this MVG side, I don't think they fired 10 bullets between the 5 of them, all round. I don't think they fired 10 bullets. You know, QuQ, they allowed the library entry, then obviously the vigil went down, and from there it just kind of spiraled, didn't it? And I think QuQ, they just found these odd little angles where MVG, they just weren't looking, they caught them at the right time, and every single 1v1, bish, bash, bosh, all the way to a flawless round. Even the dock at the end falling, holding the wrong angle, and despite the stim, being felled in the end. 1-0 to QuQ, and that was, I mean, it's flawless. That's about as dominant as it can get. It's complete opposite to how the last map started, isn't it, Bubble?
Yeah. I mean, hitting MVG with a very, very nasty spatula and flipping the pan so early on. QuQ, it's the beginning. We've seen rounds go your way, 2 of them previously, and you've already captured half of your score from the previous map, which is definitely a good lead, but it won't matter if they don't keep it up. Consistency was the key MVG was leading out with, and QuQ now need to capture upon that essence if they want to have a similar result and bring us over to the decider, Cafe Dostoevsky, which is again a completely differently structured map. Opening it up, Jake looking for those opening opportunities, confident in that gunfight, and now lurking around the Ram. Harry is trying to sneak up on anyone that may not be watching their footwork just a bit.
First kill of the round, that'll go to Schnitzipoo. That's a good frag over onto Just. Despite K-tricking not really be that much of a thing nowadays, you can still do it, but no longer. That's not going to be a thing in this round. 1 minute pack ticks down on the clock as MVG, they're holding a little stronger up on this top side than they did in the previous one, but Variox, they'll fall. Isan not around to pick up the stim. They'll start falling themselves. Not really a chance to stim here. They've got to crouch. They've got to go full turtle mode to try and get the stim off. But Hassi, he'll pick up the refrag, and Ida will make it even into a 3v3 as this Solarium push really starts to stall.
What is the current Armageddon we're watching? It's back to Clubhouse, and as much as I want to keep it in the present, I simply can't. It's equalization now, 3-3, and the quality needs to be changed up if you want to win your round. Isan recognizes that at most, but will he be the one holding that title? He takes damage, and he comes around. Drop of blood, and Hachi with one extra couple. Headshots not going to be delivered for Hydix as the bullets were just simply missed upon him. Maybe a stim, save it for the clash. There we go, a second one to reset them back on a very comfortable position. Hydix has made his run around. Now he's looking to get a bit of a loop-de-loop, and in the meanwhile, his tracks have been spotted. He has been stopped in them, and a simple piece of information, that clash being the largest thorn in their side, as now MolotovGang to turn 1.
There was a lot of moments there which QuQ did very, very well. I think one of the things that was very poor is when Isan got his pick out onto that bedroom window where, you know, the Ram had come through onto Larry. The Ram had come through that window, opened up the floor, pushing the defender out. But you see there, Isan, on the replay, they just keep firing. They keep firing, they keep firing, keep sending those bullets down range. Now, they know that the doc is there because he's been playing there all round. They've had him under pressure. He actually had to stim up earlier, go full turtle mode in the bathroom. But what happened? Larry re-peaks it, just sprints straight into the same stream of bullets that they must be able to see and hear are happening there. It's a reflex, and it's sometimes very difficult to avoid that urge to, oh, I'll just re-peek. I know I can get it. I know I can. But the hubris strikes, and Larry is taken out. And at that point, all of QuQ's attack is coming from one angle, and with a clash in particular, what you need is a prong, a multifaceted attack to get around that shield. From then on, it was going to be an uphill battle at best for this attack. MVG, they'll level it out 1v1.
MVG were a bit lost for a second, but they put on their reading glasses, and now they know what time of the hour it is. It's time to take it home. Will QuQ be allowing it? Well, that's only for them to tell. This spawn peak came majorly close, even a bit shrivelly, as MVG, again, they are starting to feel back that aggression, which always tends to lead them off to victory, and uncertain and even unprecedented kills that QuQ just don't simply deny, as maybe the defense are back in their game. Transition it back to how it started, QuQ. You had an amazing kickoff into round number 1. Change it back to how it was. You're on the attack. You still have that tempo reset. And looking at these operators, I'm a bit scared for MVG here, Delta.
Yeah, you can see all the kind of rush denial has been taken off the board. They do have trap operators, which we have seen QuQ attackers get stuck in. We saw them get stuck in frost mats over on, I believe it's round 2 on Clubhouse. But the rush, it's not quite there. You can hear the finger go off. That's usually the go bell, the go time. But Blitz here playing on the window very passively compared to how we saw QuQ use them last map. And I think that's maybe indicative of the kind of fear that QuQ have of, actually, we know that MVG are resistant to these rushes. Suppler on the Blitz though, they will pick up one and they'll occupy the space, that crucial space behind the mirror window, which now can be used against these defenders.
The weak link here for the defenders has been exposed, and QuQ have made their way right into the core of the site itself. But Larry, oh, the frost mat will be the Dawnbringer, the big bad wolf knocking at their door as he does get the pickup. Goes for the defuse, no Candelas on deck, and Isan falls. A second 2 for the name of Hydix, but it simply doesn't stop as Variox, no hope to be left. As in the meanwhile, this mirror is going to be nicely contended by the one player who uses it to their advantage. Schnitzipoo from behind, only to be traded out, but it matters not, quantity over quality. And now MVG need to QuQ. in managing to just absolutely take him out in this 1v1 scenario 3 times in a row, which is just an ungiven situation with the HP you have, the time as well, and a post plant just to apply extra salt on the wound. Final is gone.
Yeah, pretty ideal number of players to hold in that post-plant scenario, allowing the Blitz to, move very quickly, lads, into that space behind the mirror shield. I mean, you've got a shield already. They can peek, they can give intel at will, and even getting caught in the frostmat, which I should argue should have been at least droned, if not then also called out by the Blitz, who I believe would have seen it from that mirror window as they were peeking around. Even that couldn't stop this QuQ side from getting that plant down and getting the victory in the end. That was a very good textbook kind of execute from QuQ, where they took top floor, they pushed into territory very aggressively, but it wasn't a rush like last time where it was only a rush. It was, a very coordinated movement, and it's indicative of a very different attitude on this map, which I think will be very positive of them in the long run. They've already equaled the amount of rounds that they took in the entirety of map 1 over on Clubhouse. What can they do with the rest of their attack?
What can they do? Only wonders, I imagine. As again, it's been a good run in the first 3. They've taken the major part of it, and maybe they're looking to double down on it going into the second quarter of the first half. Working themselves to the bone already, and this attack is proving quite nice as MVG are having a bit of a struggle to even fight back against it. They definitely have those opportunities, but the fact that they've been opening so many gates, so many gateways for QuQ to not only have easy entry into site alone, but also just passed through all sort of defense that is put up by these defenders, it simply shows a bit of shame, but hopefully it changes around as next 3 rounds, MVG, you need to make them count.
Yeah, QuQ on the road to what will be a very, very optimal attacking half, really, I think, for them. MVG on the back foot here on defense. Not really you want to be somewhere you want to be on Chalet. Obviously, QuQ were on the back foot going into their own defensive half. MVG, it may end up that they're going to have to go and chase the game if this momentum carries on much longer. QuQ a bit dominant, really, in these opening 3 rounds. 5v5, and we've not seen any frags in the first minute for the first time in several rounds here. As I think this defense, they're a little more cautious about peeking out. It's an interesting C4, doesn't really come to any effect there. I think that's more just to open up angles as opposed to any kind of kill there onto where the breach would be. But it's not going to matter because Jake will take up frags for the first, and here's a little conflict in bathroom. Space being taken by QuQ, and kills being taken off the board as well, but just they'll be there to refrag Larry, and here's a little peek coming out from Jakey. He will be able to take out the person in Solarium, and they're going to retreat instead, valuing their life a little more highly than trying to hold the ego peak.
QuQ holding the caveat for just a second only at that, and now headspace is given to both of these teams as they nicely back off, but enter you sight you do, and figure out and find out you don't, because Aine takes you out before anything can go down, and that mine of yours, that's one for the taking. MVG don't stop, low HP for the gridlock as another falls, and it simply cannot be put on a break. Aine with a double into this round, and a tour de force for MVG as they have completely turned it around, but Mabley, just Mabley, we're having a lot of L's into our words today. Jake can have a time for shine. MVG, 2 players to put up, and right now a lot of opportunities for QuQ to go around, but only 2 entries. Gonna be that front and back, one of them even extending bar side. Precaution being said from the final player that QuQ has to offer up. The Ash trying to go around, but the pistol not gonna be simply just allowing that extra comfortability when he moves throughout this building. That's completely defender-sided, and now you see the headshot, but the railing on the stairs will be your greatest demise, as in the moment of absolute shock, QuQ will be taken out.
Yeah, bit of an interesting one, that, isn't it, Puffo? QuQ, they have this very rapid territory gain, but then that's confounded by some, what I would say is a very poor intel, uncharacteristically poor intel gain. They're jumping in through that kitchen breach. Dining breach, I should say, where they don't have knowledge of what's in kitchen, and they get swung, and it kind of takes all of the oomph out of their attack at that point. They didn't drone out, there was no calls made, and really, at least pick up the refrag, but they weren't doing that either. So, pushing into dining at that very moment, it was very obvious where they were coming from. You saw the Thatcher, you saw the MP grenades coming out, you saw the breach being opened by the Ace. Obviously, they're going to come from there, right? Throw a little bit of misdirection, throw a bit of pressure on from elsewhere. Jake above, tearing up. Jake's a very prolific fragger. Tell him to go and push Solarium, make a bit of noise, take out Hassie, maybe a minute earlier even. Well, it didn't happen. And so, MVG, as QuQ, they were jumping in. Just peek, pick up a kill, damage the other one. And bish bash bosh, the whole momentum, the whole course of proceedings has changed. Naughty little spawn peak being set up here for Justice. He'll actually get it. He'll pick off Suppler. That's a big kill to take. Buck being taken off the board. There's not gonna be any inverse vertical gameplay from that skeleton key today.
Oh, he's getting things dicey, and he rolled a natural 20 with that one. As picking up the verticality here is a major aspect. Gonna be forcing Jake to do the job instead, possibly. And in the meanwhile, QuQ, at least the positive side is that you did not lose your Ying. That possibly would have been the greatest blunder of them all, but the fact that one player is already gone within the first half a minute can be accounted for them, as now trying to push onto this extension down below. Pings are gonna be coming out, and Larry completely left alone with the Nomad. Gonna be long-range gunfights, and Hatchie up and close and personal, gets Schnitzy, it's traded out, but all for naught. Possibly MVG almost lose 2 in the process. As QuQ, they push through it all, not a single care in the world, but currently they have gotten what they seek for, just traded a player or 2 for it.
Territory gain, but at what cost? They've dropped 2 lives, they've only taken 1 off the board, and the territory that they've taken is kind of useless without having a book involved, and now, almost half the round has elapsed. They've not really done any of the prep that's needed for an attacking round. They've dropped the Ace, they've lost much of their hard breach utility. All they've got is the hard breach charges left on that Ying. Not particularly easy to use. Oh, look, God, now you're down 1 Ying charge. That's not ideal. And it seems like this round might not be QuQ's round, Bob.
Oh, not like this. The air jab there, forcing the Clash out of her comfortable position. It's still going to be an annoyance nonetheless. Shotgun up close, we can see it on the left, and Larry, you cannot simply progress. It is impossible, as QuQ have found little to no chances of entry, and just to make it even worse, just takes out your Ying, your final opportunity of having everyone blindsided, and easy targets for your guns, as MVG now reigns supreme with not only 4, but 1 single player to go up against a C4, the KD nuke for them, a golden situation. They stand tall, and Jake will have to get pushed. I mean, everyone's feeling the greed. The SMG-11 doesn't make the count. Just as TCSG looking to claim another soul, and everyone pushing in a moment of absolute desperation. But Jake takes out a Clash that is simply standing by, maybe even sitting ducks behind the shield. You can't get the kill, but just surely can for the one final time, and 1 more round before the final of the first half.
That's a big 4K from just there. The spawn peak, the kills that lead up to it. That's a truly wonderful round from the Cade there, who's been underperforming so far on this map, but they change everything in the space of 1 round. That's absolutely fantastic. I'm sure I'll be having a little word with Hassie as they go between rounds there, saying, that was my ace to take. What are you playing at? Oh, it's criminal that made it into the replay. Very, very unfortunate. Just a round that you can only chuck up to a serial couple of errors. But again, things like that spawn peak from just at the start, things like the roam, it's indicative of poor droning, poor attacking prep. And here, you can tell MVG, they're exceptionally comfortable. They're making very, well, you would typically say mid-round are very stupid swings, but they're 3v1. They're in the ascendancy. They're confident, and importantly, they're having fun. When the team in a competitive environment is having fun, it's very dangerous for the other team, because it means they're confident and they think, oh, we've got it here, it's in the bag. Now, the hubris can strike, obviously, and that can be, it's a double-edged sword, but for now, I think Team QuQ, they're on the ropes, and crucially, MVG know it.
They're not only confident, Delta, they're unpredictable. QuQ have been being read like a book. MVG turning the pages and acting as the cleanup crew, just swinging their brooms, pulling the triggers, and coming back to dethrone them of the lead. A really rough time QuQ have been having, and well, it needs to be returned, at least an equalization. The first 2 rounds were won, rather the first 2 of the 3, which was a dominant beginning. But as I was talking about it, the way of the tempo doesn't always lead your way, and maybe Hydix is just looking to put in that extra effort to make it count for the last one, the last one possibly on attack.
Bit of a slower start this round for Ryox being taken off the board early, but other than that, not really that much oomph coming out from these attackers. It's going to be very slow as we see Jackal pushing up another angle. We're just not looking at the angle where the Jackal's coming from. They'll get taken out without any real contest. Aina, they'll take out one of their own. Isan moving to take the space that was occupied formerly by Just, and Isan they'll also bring to a 3v3. Larry, they'll correct that. They'll take out Hassi, and it's all falling apart for MVG now as Isan also falls. That's top site control completely taken, and whilst this MVG side have the intel, they've not got the manpower. QuQ, with the mirror, they have all the time in the world to cover this plant off. But there's another one. Aina being allowed to pick up a triple kill. It's down to Larry. Aina, he knows where he is. He can't hand his shots. Aina has the audio now. He has the intel, but he's looking the wrong way. He flicks, but not hard enough. And Larry, he'll take care of what should have been a comfortable round for QuQ, but ended up being very, very dicey.
Beyond the shadow of a doubt, QuQ proved themselves in these 3 rounds they managed to capture, and in the very end they had a very rough push through that just led them over to this equalization of score for the one final time. Now, it is MVG, it is QuQ, both on equal tempo, and the first one to capture that 6th round has the opportunity of taking it back, taking it home, and maybe even winning it within regulation. MVG, I doubt they don't want to put themselves into a point of uncomfortability by going to map number 3 and just want to go to sleep as soon as they can. Maybe hit a match of ranked before going into the bed and hitting the seas. QuQ, on the other hand, they're playing for glory, as in mind, keep it, ladies and gentlemen, whoever loses right now will not be able to qualify for the ESA Season X.
Absolutely, Bob, and that's where, you know, getting into that kind of frame of mind where you're just enjoying the game. I mean, yes, and yeah, it's a game, it's a competitive game, and getting into that frame of mind where, you know, you're feeling a bit silly, you're feeling a bit goofy, you're going for these outside roams as a defender, you're going for these stupid peaks. You know, they didn't reset in between rounds, and we saw there MVG getting comprehensively beaten, you know, having to flick out at angles that they weren't seeing. Conversely, QuQ seemed to do their best to try and build around in a post-plant scenario. You know, down 3v1 there at one point, you know, very strong position. Just retreat and hold the angles, you would think, but not so. Isan falling, leaving it only to Aina to try and clutch up. They'll pick up 1, they'll pick up 2. But it just doesn't come together for them, and it's down to that last second flick. Once again, MVG looking the wrong way, but you can't take anything away. That was a sterling effort from Aina.
See Larry back on it, and the shield is going to be back in play. QuQ really have been left with a sour taste in their mouth after what MVG has been pulling on them when they were on the defense, looking to return that so-given medicine and have MVG have a taste of it themselves. QuQ now start feeling that pressure, and I don't know why Larry disbanded his shield to take out the Twitch drone, as it even zaps for extra credibility, if you may, but the damage drop just isn't good, and an Ash Charge possibly could be a determining factor of where you stand. Pushing library road taken, a lot of ground for the attacking side, as now they want to take it further. Now they want to get some extra kills. They already claimed 1. They're looking for the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, maybe chain it all the way to the 5th. QuQ right now looking solid.
I don't know if I agree. You know, they're down an attack, they're down 1 defender, Clash already on the floor almost, you know, they're going down very nearly. Now they're starting to get a bit equitable though. The gridlock charges, they'll go out for Ryox falls, but Larry, they can just pull back from the gridlock. They don't even need to worry about that. Their job is to hold territory they've already got, not to push out and claim more. MVG, very slow attack here, but they're going to start falling to these wild shots. Hassi has to flick out and pick up a kill over onto QuQ here. That'll be Jake going down. Impact operator really so far. Certainly my standout of this QuQ side, but they'll start picking it back up as Schnitzipoo there onto Aina. And here the round seems to start to stall. 45 seconds left on the clock, but Puffo not got the diffuser in hand. What do you do?
What do you do, truly? Well, you start piling up on those body bags that are being delivered by Schnitzipoo as he gets himself into a quad position. One after another, like dominoes they were for him. Little ants he stepped on, and the ace here would be absolutely dominant. The shock is there, the pre-fire too, and the ace for Schnitzipoo as he claims every single one, painting the picture absolutely red, just like the walls, the brain splattered, and QuQ with a beautiful defense.
Hey, Puffo.
Yes?
I think I've gotten you. I think you know the way I was saying there. That Jake has been the standout player.
Yeah.
Oh, listen.
Okay, all ears. All ears.
I might have changed my mind. No, I think Jake's been very consistently strong, but you can't take anything away. Getting an ace into a competitive game, especially a game where it's competitive and it's as close as this, that's a fantastic performance from Schnitzipoo. Like that is. It's beautiful. Things you love to see. That'll galvanise it. And you know what? That'll also give him a lot of motivation going forward into the rest of the game. QuQ here leading the game. I think coming off the back of maybe their strongest round where they took the lead in quite some time. 4-3 for QuQ, and this is something where now they can build on that and potentially look to take us to a third map. MVG, they're going to have to try and chase the game now as QuQ, they've taken 2 rounds on the bounce. They're going to be looking to take a third. And this is where I think in the last map, over on Clubhouse, MVG, they started to stack these rounds together and they built that head of steam. QuQ look like they're doing the same here though.
QuQ are doing the exact same. Turning it on their head, MVG alike, and even getting a nasty spawn peek. Jake with a sliver of HP, barely standing his own life together. No Doc to stim him up. Hopefully Hatchie maybe next time is going to be R and your team rocking that Doc. But as of current, they've lost the Nomad, and that's just going to be that grace for the Vigil, as now it allows a lot more flank potential for the Roamers.
Yeah, just being taken off the board very early. You know, typically it's ESA so far that we've seen getting taken off the board early. This time just will fall prematurely, but Hassi, they won't let that go unnoticed as they'll take Jake off the board. Jake, a pretty standout performer, very consistent fragger, being taken out. Equal standing then as we hit the minute mark, and we can see Variax starting to get ready to apply pressure to these windows and start to create this pincer movement that MVG are going to have to do to get around this clash. An ever-present defender up on this top floor for both teams.
Absolutely. Oh, a squabble up put up. Again, I cannot imagine how many times, how large of a count must be of these teams. Again, neck for neck, eye for eye. They constantly lose a player, but gain it back. Jake, just like he rised, same way he fell. And in the Nomad fashion, will be the first one to fall. QuQ here will be having a bit of trouble now as MVG are starting to get that extra progress on the top ground. Things around the information going to be the key detail of you holding it down, as the clash will definitely be more than just a nuisance. Looking to bite the bullet here. Some pre-fires for the bandit. Info still out, and these drones are really going to be annoying you, I can imagine. Although, how will the push come through? The C4 there. Is it just on spot? No, dodged and weaved in time. And MVG get to keep themselves just for a moment. But in the sight of verticality set up by the bandit, he gets a kill, but Isan claimed one of your teammates prior to it. It truly is a tragedy from both sides. And Schnitzy delivers an extra tail to it as a drop from the hatch. The ace looking to fall blasted, and MVG just F it, we ball, almost sweared, but Ryox swears on his life that he can win this 1v2, and then to match, he just flicks from top to bottom, bottom to top. He simply does not care, claims the final. That round is going to be magically going to QuQ, thanks to a Bendit MP7.
Unreal. Absolutely unreal. I mean, letting Isan get that kill through the gap that the Bandit created, criminal. But Bandit coming back to clutch it up from 2-1, yeah, alright, I guess we'll let you off with that. I think the power of a clash especially in scenarios like that. You know, it's mitigated when they've not got someone supporting them. This Clash is this big object that's like big and scary. Ooh, look at me, I'm right here. You need to pay attention to me. When they're on their own, it's not really the same story, and as the bandits swung off to create that hole, Isan sees their opportunity, and that's what kind of kickstarted it coming down to a 2v1. But naturally then, as we all saw, absolutely delicious clutch up from Hydex, and I feel like this Cook side, it's got a couple of people in now. We've seen Jake pop off consistently the whole game, Schnitzipoo with in round 7 with the ace, and now Hydex there with that 2k to seal off round 8. It's 3 rounds where we've had some what I think I've referred to quite often with you, Puffle, these hero characters, players who, in these times of need, they'll step up, they'll match the kind of competition level that you need to have. And MVG, it feels like they're lacking a little bit in people who would typically be their heroes. Hassi, yes, they're level on kills, they've got a 1.0 so far, but they haven't had these impact kills, I would suggest, in these last couple of rounds, these key rounds. But here we go, as we see Variox taking out Supir with a Claymore. Hassi are just picking up one themselves. We're in a 3v5 scenario.
I felt the dust being bit from QuQ all the way over to my monitor as MVG now realize the position they're currently in, the position of facing match point if they lose this round, and the aggression coming out from QuQ is unprecedented, unimaginable, but quite predictable as MVG starting to catch up on their case, trying to drop it in the meanwhile. Ane still has that ace, and they're all alive, healthy, well, not a single tear dropped from the side of MVG, nor a sorrow to be had. Free fires all around, that's the best hope that QuQ can go off. Lady Luck will not be standing in your way this time around as MVG still hold a very smart position, nicely being cautious, nicely being patient, and that tends to be the key to maybe, just maybe, getting this 9th round.
Yeah, they're not pushing the advantage, they're not forcing the game. They've still got, just under 2 minutes coming up to half the round. They're not having to rush. They picked up those early kills super early, and now they can just take their time with it and find these angles where, similar to what QuQ did to them, the defenders, they're not looking at these angles. Hassi brings it down to a 5v1, and now it's down to Jake, but Jake alone, he's not able to do anything. He'll be looking at the ceiling inexplicably as he gets swung. And conversely to round 1, it is a flawless round for MVG. Round 10, and they're starting to kill off that QuQ momentum. They're bringing the game back.
Oh, the party hasn't even started, nor has it ended, as right now, Delta, they heard you out. Variox, he heard no hero plays were on his teams, nor were there enough, so he did it himself. He stepped up to the task. He brought us a beautiful triple kill, I believe we saw, and a horror movie for QuQ, as they faced an absolute monster in those following moments. But now MVG are climbing the ladder, a ladder made of daggers. It's a hard climb, but they can still get to it with one more step of equalization in the round count. That EQ will be serving them beautifully if they can capture upon it. But as of current, going on to this attack, QuQ are delivering some hefty blows with these operator picks, as again the Clash makes an appearance. Jake, who has had a very good track record of those spawn peaks, and even Supir with the yokais.
Yeah, we've seen the Echoes so far be quite ineffective in this game, haven't we? On both Chalet and over on Clubhouse, because they just keep dying very early. And I think the utility of an Echo, it's all in the end game. Similarly to the Legion which they've got on the board, the utility, it gets more and more powerful the later into a round that they get. Hopefully, QuQ, for them, they're able to not drop these kills early. They've got to be very cautious not to do that, because I think, when it's a 5v5, when they're meeting in a kind of open battle scenario, QuQ, they're able to go toe-to-toe. When they're fighting upwards from there, they're going to struggle. A couple of doorways and windows going to get opened as MVG start to probe this QuQ defense, and the big thing QuQ need to make sure is they're not falling to any of these maybe daft angles that we've seen both teams fall afoul of so far this game, as that library egress is going to start being pursued.
Only the library egress, it seems like a very tight position and quite one-dimensional for now. But as of current, it seems to be the major aspect for the attacking side. They're probably going to be switching it in no time. The Ash charge there, maybe trying to hit the shield, or was it possibly completely missed? Matters not, as it's already through. Now, Breach is going to be quite contested by the Cade Claw majorly. Still trying to get it is going to be the Twitch drone coming in clutch and denying both of these claws. I think one is more than enough to be spotted, but two just for countermeasure, and a headshot for the Twitch laser onto one of these players, as now the big haul is coming right up.
Yeah, neither side conceding any kills so far as we hit the halfway mark, but the several bullets getting very, very close to the Vigil as he moves back into the building. He's going to be holding down in this kitchen area, and he has an opportunity to pick off Hassi, but he can only do a little bit of damage. And Hassi, they'll re-peek, they'll tap on heads, and so will the Ryox, they'll pick off Larry, and that's the clash. That's going to be the go signal for this MVG side as they can start to really laying their will upon the game. 5v2 as Schnitziboo's taken off the board. I'll drop to a 4v2, and Hydex, they'll also do bits, but they go down themselves. The defuse will start getting planted, and we're down to what is effectively a 1v3. Make that a 1v2 because Hydex will start popping off again. But Echo's down, and he'll start getting rezzed, and that's maybe a bit of a misplay from MVG as they let the Echo get back up. But his utility's gone now. He can't prevent the plant, and all they're going to have to do is rely on their gunplay. Half the time already elapsed on that diffuser. They've got to start winning their ones. They will not win their ones as Aina. He'll pick up one. Hydex, he's just jumped out window, so now the attackers, they know where he is. All the audio calls, all the time in the world, 9 seconds left on the clock. It doesn't matter as Hassi will pick him off, and we're level pegging Bob at 5-5.
MolotovGang, fantastic at pulling the right trigger with the right finger, the left hand meant for passing on the shattering hope, as QuQ now will be facing a possible loss in map 2. It's in the range of it unless they get this round. It is not going into overtime unless they claim this round and certify themselves that lifeline, that second chance with the 6-6 score. If it goes all to worst case scenario, which could have been a 7-5 against them, which MolotovGang, they still lurk above it. They still hold that presence alone, and I believe QuQ's mentality is getting burned down to the ground. MVG, they've definitely been feeling comfortable, and like you said at Delta, they've been having a blast, I imagine.
Yeah, I mean, they took, they enjoyed their round, and then they dropped 3 in a row. They enjoyed going, 3-2 ahead, and then that fell off a little bit. And QuQ, they seized the momentum. MVG, they took a couple of rounds, but it seems like they've reset now, and they're playing something very, very good, very tight and very controlled Rainbow Six Siege. We've not seen any of the maybe overzealous peaks, any of the overzealous swings coming out. They've been winning their ones, crucially, which shows that, they're playing very mature Siege. They're not letting themselves fall to kind of ego peaks or anything like that. Conversely, QuQ, they've not really seemed like they know what to do on their defense so far, having lost a couple of rounds on the trot. They've lost that sense of momentum, which they were carrying forward from the halfway point, and now we're here. 5v5, both teams able to get close, but not so far to match point.
Or MVG seeming like they're fresh out the oven, QuQ not as much. They've really been getting exhausted. Their stamina has been running out. Maybe they can just get themselves a bit of a fresher feeling after these couple of rounds have been lost. Breaking down doors, making entries, just stopped by the fear toxin. And currently, QuQ still holding them at bay as these drones are really giving them quite some troubles here to seek out. Thankfully, the Twitch is gone. That's only one. The second possibly don't know where the other lurks. Currently, a huge extension of the defense above ground. Only one operator, I believe, down below. And MVG, they need to find a way to clear him out. Just not going their way yet. As Super will be finding himself an explosive beginning.
It's the first time in quite a few rounds that QuQ have found the first frag. Is that going to be indicative of anything? It's not going to have too much of effect as the Nomad charges, the air jabs, they're instrumental in picking off not only the Legion, but also very importantly the Clash, that holding midfielder of this QuQ defense. 3v4, QuQ find themselves once again in a one-man deficit. Very, very early on, really, realistically, in terms of where they are in their defense. They're already seizing the high ground. They've now got a minute to go. That C4, it's going to get placed, but it's going to come to nothing until at least 5 meters from the closest MVG attacker, arguably thrown up there in desperation, opening up those vision holes. Now they'll have a little bit of sight onto where these attackers are, but really, it's MVG's game to play from here, and all QuQ can do is react unless they start to try and push people up there. ESA, they're taken off by Hydex, having a hell of a game on that bandit. And here we can see now, 3v3 scenario, 40 seconds on the clock. Diffuser in hand, Puffo. I'll hand it to you.
Main event ready to unfold, and QuQ now starting to take minor damage. It's a slap on the wrist for Hydex, but the one more and it's going to be enough to deliver the final blow. And speaking of which, Variox, the true devil, shows his horns and pipes him right through one of them. A down onto the bandit, finally finishing, and oh, what a shame, as it's the Gridlock's tracks in combination with the R4C to make the top 2 in the kill feed, just to allow MolotovGang the 6th round. The attackers from 0 to 100 yet again, as in the very beginning they lost the first opener, but then 2 were returned thanks to Just, and now they have the opportunity of taking it within regulation for a second time.
I mean, they've had a very good game so far, Puffo, but I think falling to those gridlock, the traps there, it's difficult to quantify how much that meant on the end of that round, and it's such an important round as well. That's going to be a difficult one in the post-match review if MVG happen to take this round as well. MVG at map point then, but it's not only map point, being as they took Clubhouse, they're also sitting pretty at match and series point. Reminder, the winner of this will go through to the last chance qualifier in the Swiss stage, the 2-2 bracket, where they'll be able to qualify or get dunked out of the league. But the loser of this map will, the loser of this match rather, will be dunked out of ESA Season 10. 3 minutes might be all that stands between QuQ and Oblivion, and given the way that they've played this match, it would be such a shame, Puffo. It really would.
It would be. QuQ, this is your time, your moment. Final one. Of course, under the circumstance that you lose, you won't be returning to ESA, at least not for Season X. Well, again, MVG have been outstanding on Clubhouse, a bit less on Chalet. What matters is that their score is larger than yours, and while you go for these shots which are always so close, you need to hit them pinpoint rather than just close. Oh, there was going to be a run out.
Right? I think big thing for QuQ here, they need to keep that clash alive. They need to do a much better job of keeping that clash alive. You can see here the droning, this MVG side, they're really good at droning historically. They always have been. What they're doing here is they've found a way every single round so far to isolate and take that clash off the board very, very early. Twitch here going to be able to enable a breach into that wall as a QuQ, and both of these teams, they've had a very, they've had a site where they're holding very, very strongly that top floor. Ina, they'll fall very quickly. That's the hard breach utility dealt with. No longer are they going to be able to open up that wall, and that's very, very powerful. But you can see there the blue player, the outline, just sneaking off towards the bathroom to maybe try and find an angle onto this clash. All they need to do is hold. Just hold the line, QuQ. As Hydrox, they'll take out Isan and bring us to a 5v3.
5v3, the magnum opus, you've captured upon it! Now riding the wave, MVG are on the receiving end yet again. They've many times have proved that that doesn't end up stopping them. Just for one, QuQ, make sure it counts. The diffuser, you have it. The players are outnumbered. They're really standing in a very, very particular situation that can't necessarily be dug out of so easily. So while you're here, take advantage. Have it be the saving grace, the clash there, the fantastic operator to delay all movement, and make sure that everything is stopped as Hatchie gets one. Oh, it's starting to crumble. Not again. MVG have found it. And just for the third to turn the things around. Headshots were delivered. Bodies as well. dropped in the meanwhile as Larry makes sure it's not going to be as close as we imagined it, but even closer than we had hoped for. MVG, QuQ, the final possible battle, but unless QuQ can pull their things together, MVG will be taking it away. The Ash and Nomad both in combination with a Clash that definitely doesn't have the fragmentative potential of an operator such as the Mozzie. And it all depends on these angles. Will we cover them? Just for Ryox, it's all left down to you. A 1v1, Mozzie's holding it, but if he's taken care of, it's all going to be done and dusted. Slinty claims it, and in a 1v1 situation, all he needs to do is hold back. But the zaps, will they be enough? Approaching the Clash, it runs out. The shots are there, you just need to hold him. The pistol's well, one single shot, and he doesn't get it. The defender's QuQ barely held on for just the final few moments, the seconds, milliseconds, by the bare skin of their teeth, with their life intact, and MVG having me have an absolute heart attack. Woo!
5v3. 5v3 QuQ. They're holding diffuser. MVG can't open the wall. Your team QuQ. How does it fall to a Clash in melee range of Viriox? How is that what it comes down to? That's... I mean, listen, I'm a big fan of how this QuQ team plays Siege. I'm a big fan of it, but I can't help but feel that whilst they scrabbled there by the skin of their teeth, that was MVG's round to lose. And you know, they gave it such an effort. They came so close. There's, you know, a pixel maybe there, a single pixel separated for them from total victory there, and if you're Team QuQ, you can't be letting it get that close in that scenario. You just can't. That's, I think, a statement, if nothing else, from MVG. Obviously, they'll have preferred the win. QuQ somehow scrabble. They cling by their fingernails to life in the competition as we carry onwards. Overtime, and as a reminder, because this is effectively knockout Siege with the loser being dunked out of the league pub, we do in fact not have a limit on overtime here. These two teams, they will go for round after round until we find a winner.
I can just imagine both Max right now rubbing his hands like an evil villain, feeling absolutely fantastic that we could be here all night. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, if this goes unlimited, it means unlimited. So, that depends on MVG. They couldn't do it now. QuQ are definitely going to be denying them for many more times. And well, is Larry back on that Clash? Hopefully this time around you're not left in a 1v1 position with such circumstances.
Slow start to the round here, Bob. Slow start as we go past the minute mark. Just to take up rounds for his trouble. He'll still have a couple of those very important Nomad charges. He wasn't able to use them to full effect last round. He'll start throwing them out, but the swing will come through, and that's why Clash is very, very powerful. It's not just in blocking space, but it's in being this huge thing that you've got to look at, you've got to focus on, and the swing from Jake afterwards, that's where the real power of a Clash lies. It's in the allies that you can bring with you and create space for, create angles for, and that's a very, very big, important kill to take just a prolific fragger off the board early.
Prolific indeed. Has definitely been the one to turn the tables. Now this time around, the tables have turned on him. Well, he now seeps in with the dead. The grave he stands, or rather sits, nicely cozied up. QuQ had put a blanket over him, told him to go to sleep, so he has. Listened to that command, and now 4-5. One player below, deficit definite, and QuQ cooking MVG as of current. That always tends to be the same story, and it tends to turn around, as I thought Viriox got that wallbang, but Ixon nonetheless. The fear factor going to be completely burying him deep. Needs to lay down for a second, calm down. This rotation here will be huge, and if the Moai can be spotted, and if the team kill comes around, MVG, what are we truly thinking? How does Hatch even connect that? You can't cook nades anymore. It's truly a wonder. Refire from Isan, he finds the double, looking to make a wonder out of the 0 to 100 position, as HP isn't high. The Maverick, oh, he sees the back turn to him, and with the combination of A and A, they crossfire the absolute hell out of this Clash. Then Rear and Mira remain. The attackers do have the numbers, but they don't have that prerequisite, the positioning, and of course, The execute ready to go. Are they gonna Walt? Is this a risk you're willing to take? Time is running out. You know what you're standing at. A quad kill for Isan with the HP he has. It seems simply impossible. And Hatsi, the distraction of the Maverick for the ace, comes out just enough for a gap on the gridlock to make sure it goes their way.
Absolutely fantastic there from MVG as they bring it back, despite even taking Variox off the board by their own hands with a very wayward frag grenade. That's they bring it back. They take out the clash. They form these crossfires, and even with only 17 seconds left on the board, they manage to effect entry onto site, and they'll win it out in the last 10 seconds. Very, very powerful. I think it's very notable of the maturity of this MVG team now, Puffo, where they've got the momentum. They know they have, but they've just switched from attack over onto defense. Now they took only 3 of their defensive rounds here. It's a momentum change. And what they've done is they've said, actually, we're going to control this. We want to take the tempo of the game ourselves. And they've called for a timeout. They're going to discuss what they can do. They're going to have a little chat amongst themselves. And they're going to take a moment to let the adrenaline of the last few rounds just ebb and flow a little bit out of their system as they set up, right, here is what we're going to do. MVG, this game is in their hands. They are now 7-6 to the good on the second map. They won over on Clubhouse 7-2. And if they take this round, they will send QuQ home, advancing themselves to the last chance qualifier in the Swiss stage.
Delta, you've been calling me Bobo a lot today. I mean, life is good. When Delta gives you nicknames, like, partners. Yeah, I mean, partners give each other, like, honey. They give themselves, like nice nicknames. Delta's doing that for me, and you know what? I'm famished. It's a good day to be alive. And, well, blessing it is. As for MVG, this is the blessing you get. Earlier, you had a rough situation. Now, you have match point again. It's in your grasp. You're holding it. The position, the strong power point that you currently hold is immense. And again, QuQ, they could be walking home and you booking yourself a ticket to another chance of qualifying. That is immense, right? The imaginative thought that's going in their head right now. The strategy, the talk must have been great between both of these teams. MVG are the only ones who need only one round to finish it. Or it truly will show what Unlimiteds can do to a team.
Back up to this top site then for MVG. Arguably the most popular defensive site going, the one where you can hold very, very tight. There's a variety of ways they can do it. MVG previously holding this top floor, they've had trouble contesting Library. They've not really done it too effectively, sometimes even at all, and QuQ have taken advantage of that several times. Oh no! Oh, Ina picking out the naughtiest angle from the top of Blue Stairs through onto Fluke Balcony very early on. That'll be equaled out by Jake taking Isan off the board. That's your Mozzie gone. You can no longer move around any of those pests, those drones which you've captured. 4v4 with a minute taken down in overtime match point, Puffer.
I'm being kicked out of the clock, just like players. They drop like flies, and oh, just what were we thinking? Peeking into Larry, he's had enough of this clash play. He wants to get some gun and run, and so he does. Run into his gun you will, and you'll find out. Stick around, and so you do. That's another Just Falls. The major kill leader here, besides Hassie on MVG. Of course, there's credit to be given, but when you're giving kills away like that, you're only putting your team at a detriment. QuQ sticking to their regulations, having themselves on that rappel, and even themselves in the grave as they return it, as Larry has a say about it, entering to sight, and Habana has now made first headway into office itself, but the ace falls. Is that a frostbite? Yes, it is. Variox reaps off of his own traps. Finishes the job. That's a down. Multihati beats himself up, but I don't think it's gonna be too late. No one actually executes him, and the doc is still standing, still screaming, and I imagine absolute adrenaline as now backs off. The nade's there, but so are the holes. Larry executes, and QuQ bring us just in for one more.
I think it's very harsh when you're casting something like this to assign blame to a player. It can be very harsh, But in a situation where you've taken a timeout, you've taken that opportunity there to sit down and say, don't get excited, don't get too excited, yeah? We can take it here, but here's the strat. We're going to call it. You've taken that timeout, you've had that break in gameplay, and as just on the Fenrir, you swing an angle where your Fenrirs aren't even being activated. And you swing it, taking a 50-50. Why are you gambling on those odds when you have the devices in play to make, to have the odds improve, to swing them in your favor? Why are you swinging? You don't have to. And I think that's a chance which then unlocked that fluke balcony for the attackers. For QuQ, they could start pushing through that angle. And MVG from there, they just dropped player after player after player. Now, it was very tight in the end there, Puffo. It was very, very tight indeed. But I think the question has to be asked, how do you lose it from there? When everything is stacked in your favour. And the answer is you just get too excited, too overeager.
It is. I don't know what MVG have been thinking. I agree with you. I mean, again, I like the fact that they want some TikTok clicks, some Twitter likes. Okay, I get it.
Oh, that mirror getting taken out there, Bob. Sorry to interrupt. That's going to be absolutely key for the hold on this site. Vryox, they'll pick up a Claymore kill through the drone hole onto QuQ. That'll be very early on. Schnitzipoo being taken off the board in the first 20 seconds.
Wow. I mean, that's definitely not the best for QuQ here. You've lost utility, but you've lost Schnitzipoo. It's again been one of those reigning players, which is a bad sign. It's looking like a repetition of what MVG faced due to their mistakes, and now they're lacking on improving on themselves as QuQ. MVG are taking care of you.
Game slows down a little bit. QuQ not being as aggressive in their defense. Similarly, MVG not being terribly effective in their offense. Suppler actually taking Vryox down off the board. The drones being thrown out, those Rotero drones, not being used to full effect.
I'm using my binoculars. I can't see MVG working off of that pressure any longer. They got one kill. They got themselves some nice starters. Now, it has settled down. It's coming out. No Amai nor Jaeger to counter it. ADS won't be unlocked. And the G4 from below, it was pinpointed. The bullseye for Sub here as he finds the second. Iksan, a jab for the heart. MVG feel it very distinctly. Now, just to keep up that lead, or maybe not allow it at all, Hatsi, he gets another as Jake loses his life. Oh, but Hatsi does too. I mean, Sub here, he's found himself the third. Honestly, we could be seeing another ace here. One has happened, a second one would be that much better. Super is the only man who can do it right now, and QuQ, this is your round. You can get back the lead if you just don't overpeak.
Yeah, they've got out there, they've done their killing. Now the pressure is on MVG to try and execute with only 2 people. They can't really set up that much in the way of crosses. They have to hope that this QuQ side decides to overpeak them, that gets excited. But that's what failed MVG in the last round. QuQ, they're going to be wise to it. This top floor, after Larry retreated, completely free for Aina. But there's only 40 seconds left. And now they've got to try from above, without any real utility or support, to take this section away from the defenders. Team QuQ, they won't be swinging out too far as Suppler, he'll pick up a quad, he'll pick up an ace, and he'll take QuQ to 1 round away from a map win. Absolutely fantastic, Bob.
Holding my hands up, absolute cinema, you can imagine it. And QuQ, in the final moments, the scale was offset towards them, and the ratio simply was looking better, but we can talk about better as much as we can, as only 2 players have done it. The second one today is going to be none other than Soup here, now bringing his KD up to 11 and 12, evening it out with Schnitzy, and even then being the glory of round number 15. QuQ, this could be your map win. You need it. If you lose it out here, and then another one right after, and another one right after, MVG are going to be the ones reigning supreme. I don't think you want that.
Attackers need to locate and defuse the bomb.
Yeah, I mean, what a turnaround from QuQ there. I mean, after MVG take us into overtime, after they call their little timeout, and then they lose. Crucially, they lose the round that they call the timeout for.
Attackers have
Yo,
discovered the location
on
of a
average, when you call a timeout, you win the round after. You know, that's the sign of a good timeout. And they lost pretty convincingly as well through a mistake, which the timeout itself should have rectified. And from there,
10
I
seconds
think
left.
this Cook team, they have overtaken the momentum. That round where they called the timeout, MVG, I think that'll really damage their mental there, because how do you bounce back from that? You know, you've now got no time to yourself. You've said, right, boys, here's the one where we go ahead and win it. And you didn't. And now Cook, they're sitting in the ascendancy. You know, they've just had another ace. You know, one coming out from Suppler, one coming out from Schnitzipoo, 2 in one game for one team. You know, and this is what I'm saying. There's now 4 hero players on this Cook side who've put the team on their back and carried them to victory. Where do you go from here, Bob?
Where do you go from here? I think it's a dead end. Maybe, maybe not. That's the question that we need an answer to, right, Delta? And none answers have been passed. Maybe for Club, Shally certainly still lurking around in the darkness, not to be seen, blindsided we all are, and Cook are looking to make an entry here. The defense has been proving quite solid for every single team here, and if MVG win this one, the attack as well, their chances are going to be peak. But 3 rounds in a row, that is a task that is mostly extremely, I mean, when I say it, I say a true, gonna be difficult. It is a difficulty right now.
Is Isan rattled? He's firing at shadows. There's nothing there. There's nothing even in blue hallway. What's Isan firing at?
Oh, the bugs.
I think this MVG team are really rattled by this Cook offensive here, Bob.
Yeah, they're trying to get some aim laps in while they're still waiting for the action to pop off. And, well, Jake, he won't be the ghost that's taunting one of the players. One of the players spots him, and the other takes a shot as Jake now low. No talk for you. I don't think Isan's going to be sparing any stims. And now Breach is confirmed.
Yeah, they were caught short by this breach, just jumping in last time we saw them open it, jumping in and falling foul to an MVG counter peak. Larry, they'll take up Hassie, and now we're down to a 4v4 as Isan. They'll finally finish off Jake, and it's all happening now as Variox will take out Larry, and all they've got now is this bottom floor. They need to make this execute work. Cook, if they win this, they buy themselves another round. The drone's coming out. They're not being caught in the frostbite this time, and the push through Solarium to try and seize total control of this top floor will not work as Just picks out Hydex. 4v2 scenario, Bob.
4v2 scenario, and well, MVG have handed it to them. Cook now at a standalone, sitting ducks, not much of a move can be made as space has been limited down to fireplace. That's gonna be one. Super where he sticks is above, but MVG you can't contest. You can't go for these greedy plays no longer, as Cook have lost all control of verticality. They might have spotted out on that one player, and we talk about greed, we talk about sins, and Isan traversing all the way down to mid-floor, trying to contest Schnitzy, who may be caught off guard by the dock randomly roaming top floor, as now it's all been contested. Top 2 players, they get found out by Isan, who returns back up stop, just to find 2 very easy sheep to bite down on, and Bose, please leave the call. It's going infinite, literally.
Infinite overtime. Never ending. This is starting to bring back a little memories, isn't it, of that Empire, that infamous Team Empire and Team G2 game over on Coastline back in the grand final of SI all those years ago. That's actually the thing that got me personally into Rainbow Six Siege Esports, and here we go. For 8v8 now, MVG and Cook, 2 teams very, very well matched. And I think whichever way you cut it, Bob, I think the winner of this map, given the now emotional investment that these 2 teams have, given how tight it is between these 2 teams, the winner of this map, I'll call it now, they're going to go in to win the match.
Attackers have located the bomb.
They will. That they will. You can put your money down, players. But time is starting to run out. Actually, no, it's not. It's unlimited. Honestly, that was a lie. I do apologize, but Cook and MVG have really been giving it to each other. It's a game of ping pong tennis, but no, we need to see Rainbow Six Siege. We've been seeing a lot of it. And here, it's been going the full way to round 17, which will be leaving us at a minimum of 19 rounds for one match. And maybe we even hit the 20 bomb here today, Delta.
Potentially the 20 bomb. Potentially the 20 bomb, Puffo, you're not wrong. Similar setups coming out every round now from these 2 teams. You know, you can scrim and you can come up with alternate strategies, you know, every time. At a certain point, you're going to have to restart using strategies. And I think both of these teams are now expired. I think both of them, this is a long time to play Siege without a break. It's a long time for both teams to try and push through. And we've potentially got a whole nother map to come out of this. So both of them, it's not just about can you tap on heads anymore. This is going to be a real test of which team can go on and really take this competition, because it's about your mentality and it's about how fit you are now as well. It's a true test for both of these teams, because after 16 rounds of Siege, your mind's gone. You're going to be working off instinct, and it's just about who has that little bit extra left in the tank. Very quiet start to this round 17 so far, as we've typically seen defenders getting taken off early or attackers getting taken off early. No such thing.
The extra cherry bomb here is that as much as we've seen random swings from both of these players and teams alike, this time they're all being very cautious, safe about it, looking to secure their own spot and trying to punish. Again, the opening has not meant a lot, but it definitely still provides some extra coverage when you try to lose a player or maybe have one of your own players go off. And we speak of it, the devil shall appear, and it's going to be none other than the Nomad to be taken off first.
Very, very crucial. Nomad's been important so far, but mitigated a little bit by the fact that they knocked out a Clash, and the Nomad's been instrumental in taking out a Clash. Larry not playing that this time. They switched out to the Cade, but that's not going to matter too much, as Jake now in a very difficult scenario. They'll get pinched out because the breach was allowed to be opened. ESA, they'll pinch through from the Kali, and now they've got the angle over onto the bedroom. This is another player where they're being peeked. They've not got anywhere they can go. They go prone to try and escape, but the Kali rotates off. They rotate off and they miss a prime opportunity, and now that hole being re-established over onto the breach. Einer will take out Hydex, but I don't think they know that Larry's still there. He'll take a few rounds for his trouble, and he will be felled immediately after as Snitsy Blue falls to Isan. That's a delicious C4 from Larry though, bringing it back. Not quite equitable. 3v2 Puffo.
Oh my god, filling them with lead. A sniper shot in the meanwhile. Who could have expected it? A bingo board to be ticked off. In the final two standing. QuQ, you're going to be losing your composure if this round doesn't go your way. 20 seconds, the Goyos are popped, but soon they're going to run out and extinguish the passion. MVG will onto you. A kill onto Larry. Huge from the TCSG. A runaway needed for that nade. And a pre-fire from the Vector attempted. As now they know about the position, about the exact mirror standing right in your path. As they take out one, the diffuser on hand. Larry takes a second. And now the plan's going to be required for MVG to find it. And a shot from Ishan as he goes full vault. Action into the theater. And in the climax, he gets the final. Heads pop like a balloon onto the side of QuQ just to secure themselves round 9 and 1 away from overtime match point.
Huge, absolutely huge performance. Both of these teams giving it absolutely everything that they can. Cali pick on Chalet. How often do you see that? But it works for them. They get the breach open and they managed to pull both of these, they managed to pull these defenders every which way. It's very, very difficult for Team QuQ to recover once they start dropping these key players, committing very, very heavily to that top floor presence, getting pushed out. And as it comes down to the top floor, Larry, another hero of the hour, trying valiantly to bring it all back, but unable to, Bob.
Unable to do it. All that was needed was one extra step to the right of the Cade for him to be fully covered by that reinforcement. And simply he was too curious to see what's happening on the left side. And little did he know, the only thing happening on the left will be that lead put right between his eyes. And oh my goodness, it's going back to the lead of MBG. And will their moment come around now? Well, I guess we're going to have to see shortly.
Who knew that after a 7-2 map over on Clubhouse in that first map, who knew that after 7-2 we would bring it back and it'd be 9-8? Who could have figured that before? We are going to have a very small technical break as we get our observer back into the game. Very small, but I mean, we're 9-8. Don't go anywhere. Do not dare. Because we're going to be bringing you the rest of this Unlimited OT very, very shortly.
We do apologize, there were some tech difficulties in the background, which of course does mean we're back, but the downside of it ends up being that we did sadly miss the result of the previous match, which, if you want to know about that one, it ended up being Chalet, and the score ended up being 10-8 in the favor of MVG. They took it map number 2, map number 1. Both of the map were theirs to claim. We do apologize for it, and the reason Delta's not here is due to medical issues, which again, we are hoping he does get back to us nicely. We hope he recovers, and thank him for coming along. But everyone who came along today, thank you so much for sticking around. We do have some extra matches that you can stick around for the next time we're going to be here, I believe, to show. Possibly, maybe we get to see them. There they are, the beautiful graphics. And the 15th of April, that's tomorrow. Yes, it is. 1930 CST, just like your usual time, just like your usual date. And of course, just like your usual place, ESA Outlast by first facing Verifly Asgorn. Tomorrow, don't miss out on it. Beautiful faces, beautiful casters, and more beautiful matches. But that's going to be it for today. I do apologize that this is the way it ended, but we still are very thankful to anyone who came along to just support your teams, have a bit of a chat, watch whatever you did, as long as you were here, it matters. Thank you to the production, Nanos, Bose, the Unnamed Gamer, Delta, who came in to cast alongside me, and it was an absolute pleasure to do it alongside him. And of course, Mighty Rujin, who came in as a backup caster, just in case. We have to give credit where it's due. And of course, anyone who played and anyone who worked on this event, we are very grateful. But for today, that's about it. All good things must come to an end, right? So do we, and we hope you have a great, and we mean great, rest of your day. Bit uncomfortable, but they're definitely not letting go of it yet. The second adrenaline surge does come through. Locked it in. You do see the head and a one tap for Jake over Ryan.